Everyone. I'm UC Agrawal, Director Center of Innovation, Incubation, Entrepreneurship and Startup of JIT University Dehradun. I welcome all of you in webinar on understanding IPR and role of academic institutions. Now, I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Naveen, who is a practicing patent attorney in India. He is qualified mechanical engineer and an advocate. Sir, once again I welcome you and invite you for the talk, which everybody is waiting for it. Sir, Mr. Naveen.
Thank you very much, Umesh Chandra Agrawalji. It is my privilege and pleasure to be a part of this live webinar, national level webinar with regard to the understanding the role between intellectual property rights and the academic institutions that play a significant role in contributing towards the same. Okay. So the topic of today's session would be, as I mentioned, understanding intellectual property rights and the role of academic institutions in creating and protecting innovations. So intellectual property is more or less be intangible assets. The slide basically gives a small example about the difference between one of the intellectual property rights, patents, versus a regular property right, such as a house or a building. In a regular property, we can live, rent, sell, mortgage, and abandon. But at the same time, when we look at intellectual property, we can still at the same time use it, sell it, license it, mortgage it, even we can abandon the rights and then give away the rights to third parties as well to be used without having any problem. So that's the analogy that's been drawn between intellectual property, such as patents, and a physical property, such as in a house or a building. Now, another important question that comes up as to understand the basics is to know the types of intellectual property rights. This is not a seriatim order. It's just been randomly mentioned. Many of us constantly keep knowing about something called as copyrights. So these are few of the intellectual property rights that I've mentioned. There are many in terms of many other jurisdictions, but the major ones to be highlighted here. So I've mentioned about copyrights. Copyright is nothing but an artistic and a literary work that needs to be protected. So we were talking about the types of intellectual property rights. So copyrights, as I mentioned, this is required for protecting the artistic and literary work that we create. The examples of copyright could be books that we write, the articles that we publish, the forms that we write in any examination centers and stuff like that, the examination forms. It could be songs as well. The music industry writes songs, the software code that we generate for software engineers. All this can be copyrighted. With regard to trademarks, it is specifically meant for any brand name, logo, tagline. The examples could be Pepsi, BMW, Nokia, Apple. Design rights are primarily meant for ornamental look and feel of any article. So for example, footwear design, shape of a bottle. So anything in the university levels, specifically, the civil engineering department comes up with a lot of such kind of models and all, which many a times fall under the domain of design protection. Geographical indication is primarily meant for an indication protecting a produce originating from a specific region. And the classic examples would be the Darjeeling tea that we more or less drink. It comes from the area of Darjeeling. So the protection is only offered to people who produce the tea originating from the area of Darjeeling. Anybody who produces tea from the southern belt of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, they will not be allowed to refer to that tea as Darjeeling. So that's the difference between geographical indications. We can refer to champagne originating from France as one of the examples, and Alfonso mango is also an example of geographical indication. Patent, of course, it is meant for protecting inventions, and primarily in patents we protect the function performed by that invention. Whatever the end result that we get from that innovation or the invention, that is protected by way of patents. Trade secret is another sort of intellectual property right, which is meant for protecting of undisclosed commercial information. As we all know, nobody knows about the composition of Coca-Cola, which is very, very distinct from Pepsi. So the composition of Coca-Cola is still a trade secret right from day one when the organization started preparing it and selling it as a beverage drink. So these are some types of intellectual property rights that are generally being followed and practiced in many jurisdictions. Of course, there are few more, but they are a little more enhanced and the exhaustive ones to get to know about it. But more or less as the basics about IP, we should be aware about these 5 to 6 intellectual property rights to begin with. The following are some of the examples of those IP rights. On the left hand side, you can see the Tetra Pak milk bottles. So it comes along with, so what is protected in those is the shape of that bottles. Then you have a vehicle seat that is again shape which can be protected by way of designs. On the right hand side, you can see a lot of marks which are basically trademarks. And at the bottom, I've also mentioned about something called as Tirupati Laddu, which is Mysore silk. These are typically the geographical indications, including the trade secret of asthma, in which one of the gentlemen somewhere in, I think, Hyderabad or so, makes a composition, puts it into the mouth of a small fish, and enables the fish to be gulped down by the human being. And he claims that he is able to a very, very great extent, address the concerns of asthma for his patients. So all these things comes under trade secret. Kanjivaram sari at the same time is also a part of geographical indication.
Thank you very much, sir. I think that's a awesome, that's a wonderful session, sir. And you have covered this our social media, where we have updates on all what is happening in CIIES, all the events which are happening, links are there, all very, very knowledgeable webinars we are doing. So to update yourself, please follow us. We are available on the all social media. Please follow us on there. Thank you very much, everyone.